Welcome to In 5 Minutes. Now I'll study some more file read and write functions. In previous video we have seen some functions to read and write one character into the file. Also we have seen some functions to read one string from a file or write one string into the file. Now here we'll see two general functions, fread and fwrite, which are used to read and write any kind of data from file or into the file. We can read or write string, integer, structure or any kind of data we want. They are a bit generalized functions. The first function is fwrite, that is writes multiple blocks of data, that is multiple variables into a file. Now the syntax you'll find a bit difficult to understand, but as we take an example it should be very clear. fwrite function has four parameters. First is a pointer, that is supposed to be an address of a variable to be written into the file. So you don't mention the name of the variable to be written here. Here you mention the address of the variable to be written into the file. The next parameter is integer, that specifies the size of the data block to be written. That is, if it's an integer it should be 2 bytes, if it's a float it should be 4 bytes. So size of each block of data to be written. N mentions number of data blocks to be written, and obviously last is file handle, that mentions name of the file, that is file pointer in which data is to be written. So in short we can describe it as n blocks, each of size s, into the file. The pointer specifies the address of the block of data. Now to understand this, let's take an example. Here we have defined a structure student with number and char array. So it's a roll number and name, suppose. The size of the structure will be obviously 40 bytes plus 2 bytes, that is 42 bytes of memory. Then we have a file handle created in our program. Then we defined a structure variable that holds number and name, that is no and a variables. It is total 42 bytes of memory. Then obviously we'll open a file using file pointer. Let's say some file is opened. Now since it is open for write mode, the cursor will be placed at the beginning of the file and the file is empty. Then we'll input some data into, let's say s, the number is suppose 5 and name is suppose abc. So some data is input into the structure using normal input commands like scanf, gates and all. Now this structure I want to write into the file. For that we can use a function fwrite. First you have to mention the address of the variable to be written. I want to write s into the file. So here I'll mention the address of s, that is and s. Then you have to mention the size of the data block, that is size of s, which will be obviously 42 bytes. And I want to copy only one block of memory, so I'll write 1 over here, and fp will mention the file pointer in which you want to write the data. So these 42 bytes will be copied into file as they are in memory, and there will be 42 bytes of data copied into file. And obviously it will represent 5 and ABC.